What's going on YouTube? So the Honda CR-V is one of those vehicles that you see absolutely everywhere because it has been an extremely popular product for many years now. Today we're standing next to the latest 2026 model, the refreshed model, and this has some important upgrades to the standard features, some design tweaks, and even a new trim level, the TrailSport. But with a new RAV4 on the horizon, did they change enough to stay competitive with that? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Now, like always, we like to kick things off with a quick spec dump right from the start here. The powertrains are unchanged for the 2026 CR-V, meaning that about half of your trims come standard with this two-motor hybrid system. It's a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine with 2 electric motors, making a combined power of 204 horsepower. It's paired to a transmission that operates like an eCVT, and when we're talking about the TrailSport model specifically, it does get a little bit lower fuel economy at 35 mpg combined.
Now, as far as the base price for the CR-V, that's $31,000 this year. And if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, of course, later on in this review, we'll be taking it out for a spin so you can see what that's like. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading, and at the end discussing resale and reliability.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood so that we can talk about all the updates across the entire model line and how that stacks up against the RAV4. So starting out with our exterior design, Honda typically doesn't change much when it comes to a refresh in the overall design, and that is the case really with the 2026 CR-V. That being said, it still continues to have a very handsome design with a little bit of sportier flair on your upper end trim levels. So when you get one of the sport trims or the TrailSport, you get the full gloss black grille here, which I think looks pretty premium. Also the TrailSport as well as the Sport Touring get a little bit of silver accenting down here on the lower fascia. Now that I'm squatted down here, though, I should go ahead and mention that the TrailSport trim level does not actually add any greater ground clearance or change like approach and departure angles. This vehicle is not really designed to be a hardcore off-road vehicle, but we'll talk more about that later on. You do, of course, though, have your TrailSport badging right there in the grille. And then as far as our lighting, we continue to have full LED lighting standard across the board. These are reflector LEDs with your LED turn signal indicator and daytime running light. There are no fog lights offered. Now moving on to the wheels, Honda has given us new wheel designs on all the trim levels except for the lowest LX trim and the top end Sport Touring. So you begin with 17-inch alloys, all the middle trims come with 18s, and you end with 19s at the top. This on the TrailSport is a new design, of course, since it's a new trim level. It's an 18-inch gray finished alloy wheel. More important than the design, though, is the fact that these are wrapped in Continental cross-contact all-terrain tires. So this is really the main element that Honda is bringing to the table that will increase your capability for the TrailSport model. Now you have a little bit of cladding around the wheel arches, of course, gloss black finish up here on our mirrors. And as far as the technology, you get heating and blind spot monitoring on all but the base model.
Now, at the side of the refreshed CR-V, this vehicle comes in at an overall vehicle length of 184.8 inches. That's unchanged this year. However, there are quite a few new elements when it comes to the side design this year. First of all of your window surrounds are going to be blacked out for all the hybrids in 2026. That gives you a little bit more of a sporty look. I think that's a good improvement. We also have blacked out roof rails up top, and for the TrailSport specifically, we're also going to get these blacked out door handles. So I think that really gives it a nice color pop, especially if you pair it with this new ash green paint color. That is a TrailSport exclusive paint color that we saw originally on the Honda Passport. Now, as we head around to the rear design of the CR-V, once again, just like the front, Honda didn't radically change the design of this vehicle, but I don't think it needed a lot of change because it's a very handsome overall design. As far as specific elements, we have a spoiler up top. We have our wiper integrated right here, all-wheel drive branding. And then as far as the taillights are concerned, these are also going to be unchanged. So they're a partially LED taillight unit on all the models. So your LED brake light portion, LED reverse light, and you do still keep the incandescent turn signal. I wish they had maybe made that at least LED this year. But as we drop down to the lower area, you have some blacked out CRV branding. That's going to also be a nice new element. Is a lot of your branding is going to be blacked out besides for things like this Honda logo. Now as we drop down to the lower fascia, we have a little bit of silver accenting. I really like that they're also including exposed exhaust outlets. And as far as your tow rating, that's going to depend if you get the gas model or the hybrid, but this TrailSport is hybrid exclusive. And this is a very popular family vehicle, so Honda knows that, and they're including every single active safety feature as standard equipment on the CR-V in 2026. They'll even include things like adaptive cruise control with a traffic jam assist function. But guys, there are some very important interior updates that we need to go ahead and talk about. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we have reviewed over 2,000 vehicles at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from humble to high-end, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. Now let's move to the interior. First, as always, we'll take a quick look at the fob. It's Honda's typical Smart Entry key fob. The Smart Entry system is standard on all but the base trim as well as the remote start right there. And to get inside, just grab behind the handle and that will unlock the door. Now, taking a look at the interior, just like with the exterior, you're going to notice kind of some subtle refinements to the overall formula. And of course, there's some exclusive touches with the TrailSport specifically. Now, your lower trims are going to have cloth seating, and the TrailSport, as you can see, also does have cloth seating. And then all the models that end with L, as well as the Sport Touring, that gives you the leather seating. For this model, all you have is just the black choice you see here, but it does have a lot of different designs to the fabric here to give it more visual interest, as well as specific TrailSport branding and the signature orange stitching, which you'll see repeated throughout the interior. Now, the seats are 10-way power adjusting with 2-way lumbar support. All the models with leather seating will also come with memory seats as well. And let's go on and climb inside. Get a little animation when you first get inside, and we'll go on and look around the rest of the cabin at the materials. So you've got some leatherette over here on your armrest, all soft touch plastic throughout this door trim, a little bit of black accenting. So you move to the upper dashboard, this is all a soft touch plastic. You continue to have that single vent effect going through here with more of the piano black accenting. I also want to point out that the TrailSport specifically gets a amber ambient lighting throughout the interior, which is something special to this model. And then, of course, you do have some hard touch plastics down here, but everything feels super solid, which is typical for the Honda brand. We'll fire it up with the push button start. So I mentioned that a lot of updates give you some more standard equipment, and one of the things that Honda has done here is switch up our gauge cluster design. So previously you had a half digital, half analog setup across the trims. Now, beginning at the TrailSport model, you get the full 10.2-inch digital gauge cluster like they have on other models like Civic and Accord. Now, in terms of this gauge cluster, it gives you a little bit more customizability in terms of what you can do with the design, and it does change a little bit when you switch drive modes. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that they continue to not offer a head-up display, even on the fully loaded model. And the upcoming RAV4 is going to have a larger standard gauge cluster as well as an available head-up display. Now, as far as the steering wheel is concerned, we have a nice leather-wrapped steering wheel here. We've got the orange stitching for the TrailSport model. Previously, only the top trim got the heated steering wheel. Now, the new TrailSport will also get that trim for your off-road adventures. And the wheel itself is manual tilt and telescoping. Now, as we take a look at some interior storage options, Honda has always really done a terrific job. They're not changing this up for 2026, so you've got a super deep center console with a felt lining down there at the bottom. We don't have our donuts with us today because we are in California, but it should get the same score as previously, which means it's absolutely tremendous. It's one of the very largest consoles in the entire segment. In front of that, you have your two cup holders, and then further up, we've got a nice large storage cubby with a newly standard wireless phone charging pad across every single trim. As far as the shifter is concerned, you've got just a simple to use physical one. Pull back for drive there, bump up for reverse. When we go into reverse, you've got a 360-degree camera system. You don't have a 360-degree camera system. I'm so used to saying that because at this point, I think every single rival in this entire segment has a 360 camera, so you'll be disappointed to find out Honda still has not added that, even to the very top trim level. That's quite disappointing. I know a lot of you guys want that. Instead, what you get is this traditional camera with active trajectory, and you also have 3 different views you can switch from. That's on all trim levels. Off to the side there, you've got your driving mode controller, as well as your brake hold and your electronic parking brake. Now, as we move to the center section, you have your climate controls. It's a dual zone automatic setup across the range. Nice high quality knobs here. It's super simple to adjust. And then over on the far right and left sides, you'll find your 3-stage heated seats. That's on most trim levels, but ventilated seats also continue to not be offered even on the top trim. And then you also have a physical volume knob here to adjust the audio systems. On the CR-V, you start with just 4 speakers on the LX trim level. The TrailSport, most of the middle trims come with an 8-speaker sound system, and then you get the Bose 12-speaker sound system on the Sport Touring only. We'll go ahead and give this 8-speaker setup a sample. Overall sound quality of this system is perfectly fine. I think if you're not a big audiophile, you'll be totally satisfied with this. But if you do enjoy having a little bit more detail to your music, then go ahead and upgrade to that Sport Touring and get the Bose sound system. But I think probably the most important thing to living with the CR-V on the day-to-day that they upgraded for 2026 is going to be the technology. So what you're looking at is the 9-inch display. And this has been expanded to be standard equipment across the entire lineup now. Previously, your lowest trims came with a very small 7-inch display, so now you get the 9-inch display across all trims. Also critical to that is the fact that you have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay now expanded across all the trim levels for 2026. As you can see, we've got the Android Auto system pulled up right now. Operation nice and smooth. Now I'll go ahead and click the home here and take you back to the main screen because this is something I want to point out. As you can see, not a lot going on here. That's because all of the trims except for the very top Sport Touring get this very basic looking software. It's certainly designed to really just need your phone paired all the time because it doesn't have hardly any functionality outside of having your phone paired. If you get the top trim, though, that's where you get Google Apps actually built into the system itself. So you have Google Maps, Google Assistant, all those things like that on just the Sport Touring trim. Now up top here, we've got a manual dimming mirror. You get an auto dimming mirror on your top trim. And then I'll go ahead and slide back the sunroof. This is a standard feature on all but the base LX trim. It's just the standard size, though. They do not offer a panoramic sunroof for 2026.
And let's talk about the CR-V's rear seat. Now, before we even get back here, I do want to mention, look at that door. It opens at such a wide angle that certainly will make loading in, car seats and things like that an absolute breeze. So I do just want to point that out for those of you that are parents out there. Now, let's talk about space. This, of course, is not going to change for the refresh, but that's a good thing because this is the most spacious option in the segment, or at least one of them. 41 inches of legroom is what we're looking at, 38.2 inches of headroom. Those are really fantastic figures. Like I said, that bests pretty much all the rivals and will also be better than something like the new RAV4. I've sat in both of them, and this definitely feels a lot more spacious. Now, as far as the knee room figure, Drew is 5'8", I'm 5'9". The official Car Confections ruler along, and we have a whopping 9 inches of knee space. That's really, really nice. Also, my feet can easily slide up underneath of the seat, and that's not the whole story because this vehicle has a really nice rear seat reclining system. It actually has 8 different modes of recline. So if you reach back here and grab that lever, you can go all the way back to like almost a full lay down position. It really feels fantastic and it's super comfortable. So I imagine your kids are going to really love the back seat of this vehicle. Now kind of reclining it back up, well, actually we're on a hill, so it's kind of hard to get it to come back up. We have 2 cup holders in the center area. And then as far as other features, we have vents here in the center section, USB ports. But one thing you will find that is not on the CR-V that I'm still very disappointed they have not added are heated back seats. That's once again a feature like the ventilated seats, the pano moonroof, and the 360 camera that all the rivals pretty much have an option of getting, and this vehicle still does not have that option. So that's just something to keep in mind if that matters to you. Now, as far as the door trim is concerned, hard touch on the upper part, hard touch in the middle section, but we do have a nice leatherette pad on the armrest. We also have quite a bit of door storage. Now walking up to the tailgate, we do have a power one on really most of the trim levels. If you want the hands-free, you will have to go for the Sport Touring though. And let's talk about the overall cargo space in this model. So that's once again another highlight of this vehicle. We're sitting at 39-ish cubic feet of space behind the second row of seats. If we fold those down, 76.5 cubic feet of cargo capacity. Now, if you're curious as to how that may compare to the rivals, good news is that we've actually gone through and reviewed and ranked the numerous compact SUVs in this segment, and we put that on our website at carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. There you can actually go through a chart in different categories that might matter more or less to you, things like cargo capacity, powertrain choices, interior luxury, and features. And you can sort based on different categories. So if you want to make an informed buying decision, we certainly would recommend you use that tool to know all your options as well as which options might excel in certain categories. Now, cargo capacity is going to be an area where this model excels. It's going to be better than something like that new RAV4. It's really the largest option in the segment. Now, in order to fold the seats down, they do fold 60-40 split. There are not any handles, so you just have to reach up here and lean forward and try and get the seat folded. I will say that it's a little bit hard to do, especially for those of you that might be a little bit shorter, but it is possible right there, as you can see. The seats do not fold completely flat with the floor. They do have a little bit of a hump. And let's go ahead and get our cargo length, width, and height figures. So behind Drew's 5'8" driving position, we are looking at 75 inches of overall cargo length. Behind the second row of seats, about 35 inches of length. The opening is really wide, guys, 43 inches wide, and overall height right here is sitting at 32 inches. That's also a very tall cargo area, so that's why you have so much cargo capacity. As far as the load-in height, 28 inches. That's also pretty good. Now, underneath of the floor, for the hybrid models, you will not have a spare tire. You can get that if you get the gasoline versions, though. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the all-new Honda CR-V TrailSport trim level. Now, we can't wait to show you all of what this vehicle is capable of out on the road. We're going to be discussing the things that you see on the screen right now. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading so you can see how quiet it is. But first, let's start with a hard acceleration.
Alright, and there we are accelerating to 60 miles per hour, excuse me, with Honda's 2-motor hybrid system. So, as we talked about really quickly at the spec dump, Honda's not making any adjustments to their powertrains for the 2026 refresh. That's certainly not a bad thing because they do have some pretty competitive powertrains. You've got your lower models being equipped with a traditional gasoline engine, and then your top trims come with the hybrid system, which also includes, of course, this TrailSport model.
Yeah, now as far as overall horsepower and torque figures, you are going to be sitting at 204 horsepower for the hybrid model, 247 pound-feet of torque. So as you can see, based on the acceleration, that really is good to get you to 60 miles an hour reasonably fast. It's not going to like blow you away or anything, but it is quite quick enough for the vast majority of people. And it is also a big upgrade over that standard gasoline engine that Drew was talking about earlier. That's a
Yeah, that one's 190 horsepower.
Yeah, that one is significantly slower. And I also think the torque, right off the line, the electric torque on the hybrid model is a big upgrade. So I certainly would recommend getting that. And Honda is really adding, this trim level, of course, for the refresh is another direction, just kind of pushing the hybrid even more so. So most of the CRVs that will be sold actually are now going to be the hybrid based on customer demand.
Right, Honda said they're currently doing 55% hybrid. This trim will probably even increase that a little bit on the CRV sales. So the only thing you're really missing compared to some of the rivals is that if you wanted like the base trim levels, the LX, the EX, you're not going to be able to get those equipped as a hybrid, so it does kind of make you spend a little bit more than some of the competition. Now let's talk about the other element of the powertrain. So for the transmission, you have a continuously variable transmission when you choose the standard gas engine. However, when you go for the hybrid model, you have a transmission which is not a CVT, but it does behave like a CVT. So in effect, you could see the acceleration there. You do have some simulated gear changes. It's overall extremely responsive. Honda's done just a terrific job with this hybrid system, really across all of their models, at just making everything feel really good when you punch it. It doesn't take long at all to get that immediate response. And as always with their products, the handoff between gas and electric is just so smooth. They might be doing it the best in the whole industry. It just really is fantastic.
Yeah. Now, as far as how power is routed to the ground, they do give you the option between front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive on both powertrain options. So, yeah, you can get a front-wheel drive hybrid, which will kind of boost your fuel economy up even more. So that is a nice benefit, I think. But now that we're just cruising down the highway here, I want to take a second to discuss overall ride quality. So we've been driving this TrailSport CRV all morning long and discerning the ride, and I have to say, I'm very happy to tell you, it's pretty much the same as every other CRV we've been in, which is a good thing. This vehicle rides really nicely. The TrailSport is going to be no exception. Even though you have those all-terrain tires on the outside, it really doesn't add any harshness. It doesn't add any vibrations into the cabin. Honda definitely focused on making this, TrailSport package kind of street focused still, so it really feels like every other CRV behind the wheel, which is a good thing. And when you hit a bump in the road, does a good job. The cloth seats I also find to be quite comfortable. You additionally have the leather seats on the other trim levels of this model, which those seats are also very nice.
Yeah, and I should mention that here in just a little bit, we're going to be able to take this on some mild off-roading to show you some of the, things that Honda envisions that you'd be able to do with this TrailSport model.
All right, guys, so we just completed our first obstacle in the Honda CR-V TrailSport. So as you can see, we have now made it off-road in this model. Now, this is not going to be the most intense off-road course or anything like that. That's not what this vehicle is designed for. You saw on the outside, they really didn't add too much besides for the all-terrain tires on the outside. And the vast majority of you all won't be using this too much for off-roading, but this is just kind of designed to show you what this vehicle is capable of if you do happen to find yourself on something like this.
So we're in Southern California. Obviously, as you can see, we're on some kind of dirt and rocky terrain, very dry and dusty. So we're gonna kind of go through a series of little obstacles, nothing too intense, but as you can see, we get a little articulation.
Yeah. This vehicle does also have hill descent control, so that will come in handy.
Perfect. Keep on going, keep on going. You can let go of the brake pedal.
All right. Yeah. So as you can see, that was actually quite the steep grade right there that we went off of.
And we mentioned it on the outside, but we'll just briefly remind you guys that there is no additional ground clearance with this model. They're not using any type of skid plate or anything like that. No adjustments to the approach or departure angles either. That's usually in this class, you don't really see a lot of capability added with these trim levels. The class above, that's where you kind of start to see some additional features that harden the vehicle to the surroundings so they can take on more intense kinds of terrain.
You can see, got the tires off the ground in the CR-V. Honestly, while this is not, a very off-road focused model really for the most part, I have to say this is a very good demonstration, and honestly, most buyers will not be, even doing anywhere close to this level of off-roading. Arguably, this is not the most intense off-roading there is, but certainly most buyers are going to be staying on the pavement for the most part, besides for just, the occasional off-roading like this. All right, let's get our sound level reading going 55. 58.6 decibels is what we are sitting at as our sound level reading in the 26 Honda CR-V TrailSport. Now, we don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to other compact SUVs. We can find that at carconfections.com/sound level readings. Now, it is worth noting that's not the quietest compact SUV out there, but I do want to point out a couple different things. First of all, we are here in California on the U.S. media drive of the CR-V, so unfortunately the road surfacing is a little bit different than our typical road surface in Kentucky. Stay tuned to the channel. We will hopefully be getting one of these to test out on our official Kentucky roads here shortly. But secondly, I do want to point out that the CR-V does typically have a little bit of a louder cabin than some of the rivals, so that is something to keep in mind. For 2026, Honda hasn't really added any sound deadening or anything like that, so keep in mind this is going to be one of the louder options in the segment. If you get the Sport Touring trim level, I do feel like it does quiet down a little bit, so you might want to go up the trim structure if you want a quieter cabin. And now that we ran into construction and we're sitting in some traffic, it's a great time to discuss fuel economy. So that's really where this hybrid model shines. So as far as the fuel economy for 26, it is 40 mpg combined if you choose a hybrid with front-wheel drive. So that's the best that you can get in the CR-V lineup. The all-wheel drive model drops it down to 37 mpg. This TrailSport specifically does reduce that down a little further as well. That's 35 miles per gallon. It's still very good overall. The gasoline models come in at 29 and 30 mpg, so you're getting a significant bump if you choose one of the hybrid variants. A couple things I do want to mention, though. First of all, the RAV4 hybrid in its current generation actually already has this beat when it comes to fuel economy. And, of course, the new one is coming out, and we honestly expect that to have better fuel economy than before. So just a couple things to keep in mind. You can get some of the rivals, namely the RAV4, that will get you better fuel economy.
Now, like Mason just mentioned, we're in Southern California, and one of the things I really like about this area is you get some very nice canyon roads. So we're kind of working our way up one of them right now. It'll be a good time to talk a little bit about the dynamics. If you've watched any of our past CR-V coverage, you know that we've been very pleased with this area. Honda, with really across their whole model line, focuses more on driving dynamics than most of the rivals in this space, and you can indeed feel that as you go around these corners. The CR-V has a really nice balance to the chassis. You don't have a ton of body roll. The other thing I really like is the steering balance. So super responsive, good feedback to it, but not overly heavy, which I think is important because some people say like Mazda steering is a little too heavy for the day-to-day. I think this really strikes the right balance overall.
And a few last things to mention. For 2026, Honda's made a few changes. The all-wheel drive system is supposed to have better torque management at speeds of under 9 miles per hour this year. And the Sport Touring trim level, so not this model, you can get new individual drive mode on this vehicle. But let's get into our slam dunk and airball favorite and least favorite element. Drew, kick us off with the slam dunk.
For the slam dunk, we're going to say that this CRV really just nails the fundamentals. Was this 2026 refresh, really radical? No, absolutely not. However, this vehicle remains extremely competitive because of things like its packaging. It just has tremendous space. The powertrains are really fantastic. And like I said, I think those are kind of the fundamental things and the reason why this vehicle is really only increasing in sales.
Yeah. On the airball side of things, what we're going to say is we wish they had done more for the refresh, namely things on the fully loaded examples like the pano moonroof is still missing, the 360 camera, the ventilated seats, the heated back seats. I could kind of go on and on about a couple things that this vehicle is missing that I really wish they had added for the refresh. We're still not getting those though. As far as a TrailSport specific element, I will say that this model is also kind of pricey to have things like cloth seats. And now it's time to talk pricing. So as I said at the spec dump, we start at $31,000 for the LX model with front wheel drive. There are a lot of different trim levels. You can see those all on the screen right now. You end at the Sport Touring, $42,250. Now, most of the prices aren't going to rise a lot. However, for your hybrid trim levels and the Sport Touring, it's going to be between $1,000 and $2,000 of a price increase. So it is increased for 2026, that's to say the least. Now, as far as this model, the TrailSport, when we add the optional paint as well as the destination charge, we're sitting at around $40,600. Now, if you're looking to buy a Honda CR-V or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that'll connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, including our monthly payment tool, we'd encourage you to go to that website. You can find it in our video description as well as a pinned comment. But guys, owning a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's dive into resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, we took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Honda CR-V's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it would be worth 64.8% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 34.3%. Now, it's worth noting those are very good resale value percentages. It's actually the very best across every vehicle brand in that 5-year metric, so that is certainly quite the accomplishment.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several trustworthy sources of reliability studies and combines them in a way that gives you a more holistic picture. When we take into account our latest 2025 data, as you can see, Honda is one of the top-rated brands overall compared to other vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, our reliability information, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Now, when it comes to your warranty, you do have Honda's Signature Warranty, which is a 3-year 36,000-mile basic warranty, 5-year 60,000-mile powertrain. The hybrid battery is also warranted for 10 years and 150,000 miles, and you do get complimentary maintenance, but it's for 1 year and 12,000 miles. And guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth review of the refreshed 2026 Honda CR-V and specifically covering this TrailSport trim level. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to get the latest car reviews such as this, and you're also going to get a ton more CR-V content. Trust me, we cover this car a lot. So if you're interested in the CR-V, hit that subscribe button down below. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.